I am Emily Harper, 28 years old, living in a 450-square-foot studio in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where the exposed brick wall and the window overlooking the L train tracks are the only things that make me feel like I'm truly living in New York. By day, I chase deadlines for sustainable interior design projects. By night, I'm glued to my MacBook, drinking cold brew that's gone lukewarm, dreaming of the day my studio has its own name on business cards instead of just Emily Harper, freelance. I used to think my biggest problems were choosing the right sage green tone or convincing clients that reclaimed materials could still look luxurious. I was wrong. That Wednesday night it was drizzling, the kind of New York rain everyone pretends not to notice. I was sprawled on the sofa, feet propped on the armrest, watching the quiet luxury vlog when my iPhone buzzed. A voice memo from Ava Harper, my older sister, popped up. Subject line, from Mom and Dad. I smiled instantly. Probably an update about the Hamptons weekend trip the family was planning, or Ava sending big sister advice about what to wear to the family party. Ava and I are exactly 2 years apart, but that gap has always been enough for her to be ahead. Ahead in success, ahead in being right, ahead in the proud looks Mom and Dad always give her. I hit play without thinking. Ava's voice came through, low but sharp as a razor. Can you even believe her? Emily walks around telling everyone she's this big sustainable designer now. Those tiny little contracts. It's honestly embarrassing. Mom and Dad baby her so much, she actually thinks she's somebody. I only pretend to support her because they expect it. If her clients ever saw how insecure she really is, they'd run. I froze. Ava's scoff sliced into my ears like a paper cut. Like, I love her, but come on, she's playing designer, that's all. The room suddenly went so quiet, I could hear the rain hitting the window. My heart pounded in my ears, a low bass someone had just turned on inside my skull. This wasn't the first time Ava had said something like this. I'd heard the half-joking digs at family dinners, the side eyes when I showed off a new project, but never this clear, never this vicious. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. This was a script she'd rehearsed in her head and then delivered to my parents behind my back for years. I hit replay. The second time hurt worse than the first. Every word stabbed. Tiny little contracts, pretend to support, playing designer. I saw myself as a kid again, running after Ava in our New Jersey backyard, wearing her oversized jacket, trying to copy the way she smiled, the way she talked to her friends. Mom and Dad always called Ava our little star, and me our dreamer. I thought that was a compliment. Turns out it was just ranking. The phone screen blurred. I didn't cry. Strangely, I thought I'd sob like in the movies, but my eyes burned. Beneath the pain was something else, colder, clearer. Resolve. Enough. I was done being the grateful little sister who always stood in Ava's shadow. Not by screaming or petty revenge, but by stepping into the light she always thought belonged only to her. I sat up, wiped my face, took a deep breath that smelled of old coffee and damp wood in my Brooklyn apartment. Outside, the L train screeched past, its lights flashing across the ceiling like a reminder. New York doesn't wait for anyone. And this time, neither would I. The next morning I woke at 6:30 before my alarm. Last night's rain had stopped. Brooklyn was unusually quiet. Only the distant rumble of the L train and the smell of bagels from the shop downstairs. I thought I'd wake up with puffy eyes and a raw throat from crying all night. Nope, I was terrifyingly awake. In my head was a list as clear as the Pinterest boards I make for clients. Listen to the memo again. Stop pretending I didn't hear anything. Decide who I am from this day forward. I lay in bed another 10 minutes, gripping the phone. I pressed play a third time. Ava's voice was still ice cold. Tiny little contracts, playing designer. I only pretend to support her. Each word felt like a slap. I didn't cry. I just felt my heart beating steady and strong, like someone had flipped a new switch. I called Mom before she could call me. Laura Harper always wakes early to run around the park near their house in Montclair, New Jersey. "Morning, honey." Mom's voice was as cheerful as ever. "Ava just texted me. She said she accidentally sent you something last night. Everything okay?" I swallowed. "Yeah, Mom, just a little mix-up." "Oh, good. You know your sister. She vents sometimes. She loves you so much. She's just stressed with the showcase coming up." Vents sometimes. That phrase punched me in the chest. I forced a smile even though she couldn't see it. "I know, Mom. Hey, does Ava talk to you guys about me a lot?" Mom laughed lightly, like it was obvious. "All the time. She's so proud, always forwarding your Instagram posts, telling us about your new clients. She calls you her little protege." Protege. That word made me want to throw up. I thanked her, hung up, and sat motionless in my tiny kitchen. So for years, every time Ava bragged about me to our parents, it was just an act. The real stuff was in the voice memo I just listened to 3 times. I opened my MacBook, created a new Notion page titled Rebirth, Day 1. In America, people do that. Name a new life phase like it's a personal project. I typed, "I am allowed to take up space. I am allowed to be successful without permission. I am allowed to stop auditioning for the role of Ava's little sister." I added one more line, huge and bold. "My success does not need Ava's approval to be real." I remembered being a kid. I used to wear Ava's oversized denim jacket, the exact same Converse, even learned to do that half smile she had. Mom and Dad always bragged about Ava first. "Ava got into Cornell early decision. Ava just landed that internship at DDB New York." I got the softer praise. "Emily is our dreamer." I thought it was a compliment. Turns out it was just hierarchy. When I told the family I was quitting my agency job to start my own sustainable design studio, Ava was the first to clap, hug me, and say, "I'm so proud of you, Em. This is huge." I believed her. I posted a story thanking her for always being my biggest supporter. Looking back now, I felt so naive. Those hugs were just performances for Mom and Dad. Behind my back, she called me a wannabe. I stood up, grabbed almond milk from the fridge, made another cold brew. I looked out the window at the sunrise hitting the red brick buildings of Brooklyn. This is New York, the city where everyone comes to rewrite their own story. No permission needed from siblings, no nod required before you're allowed to call yourself successful. The American dream has no clause that says must be led by your older sister. I closed the laptop, took a deep breath. Time to stop playing second fiddle in my own life. Ava can keep the spotlight she wants. I'll build my own, bigger, brighter, and entirely mine. I stood under a scalding shower, letting the water wash away the smell of old coffee and the heaviness lingering from last night. Steam fogged the mirror, but everything in my head was crystal clear. I remembered summer afternoons in Montclair, New Jersey. Ava at 10, me at 8, her in an Abercrombie tank top, high ponytail, riding her BMX around the neighborhood like a queen. I'd run behind, trying to keep up, always yelling, "Ava, wait for me." She turned and smiled, but it was always a smile that felt bestowed. I thought it was big sister love. Now I know it was power. Dad used to joke at the dinner table, "Ava is our leader, Emily is our dreamer." It sounded cute, but it pinned me in a corner from the start. Ava got a full ride to Cornell. I got into Parsons with a partial scholarship and student loans. Ava had summer internships at big agencies. I worked barista shifts to pay rent. Ava bought her first Manhattan apartment at 26. I was still renting in Brooklyn at 28. Every time I showed off a new project, Ava was the first to comment 3 hearts on Instagram with a gentle dig like, "So cute, my little sister is all grown up." The family table laughed. I laughed too. Now I understand it wasn't a joke. It was how she kept me small so she could stay the star. I turned off the shower, threw on old Levi's, a cream cashmere sweater, and my scuffed Chelsea boots. I grabbed the biggest cardboard box from the closet, the one my printer came in last Black Friday, and headed straight out the door. Ava's office is on the 38th floor of a high-rise on 6th Avenue, Midtown Manhattan. Her company logo, Harper & Co. Events, is laser-etched on frosted glass. Inside is Ava's world. Imported oak floors, white leather sofas, 2-meter-tall Dutch tulips, and the faint scent of Creed Aventus everywhere. It's the kind of American success everyone dreams of: young, rich, powerful, and in vogue living twice. I used my last key card to get in. My little corner was at the end of the hall, next to the window overlooking Bryant Park. An IKEA desk I assembled myself, a fabric swatch rack, 3 half-finished mood boards for a Nolita restaurant project. I started pulling down photos, fabric samples, colored pencils. Every item into the box felt like ripping out a memory. At the bottom of a drawer, I found a small postcard. Front, Ava in the Hamptons last year, white linen dress, radiant smile. Back, her familiar handwriting. "You're welcome for the space, little sis. Don't forget who got you here. A. Heart." I stood still for a few seconds, staring at those words. Last year, I thought it was sweet. Now it was just a cold reminder of control. I tossed the card into the box with everything else. All that was left was the key card. I placed it neatly on the desk next to the $1,200 Baccarat vase Ava loved to brag about. She'd once joked right in front of me and colleagues, "Don't even dream of affording this with your tiny little contracts." Everyone laughed. I laughed too. Now I just smiled faintly and left a post-it on the card. "Thank you for the corner. I'm taking the whole room now." I dragged the box to the elevator, down the marble lobby, out onto the street. The Dominican Uber driver asked if it was too heavy. I said no. On the way back to Brooklyn, crossing the Manhattan Bridge, I looked down at the East River sparkling in the morning sun. I thought about American sibling rivalry, the way we're taught to compete to prove our worth, even against our own blood. Here, no one saves you, no one yields. You have to step up and claim your place. When the car stopped in front of my red brick building in Williamsburg, I hauled the box up 4 flights, sweating, but my heart felt light. I set it down on the old wood floor of my apartment, opened the window to let October air flood in. I was no longer the little sister standing behind Ava's stage lights. I had my own stage now, and this time I'd be the one turning them on. I set the box down, out of breath, then opened my laptop on the dining table, still holding this morning's cold brew. Google Calendar appeared, and there it was, October 19th, marked in glaring red. NY Design Fusion Showcase, the Highline Hotel, Chelsea, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Curated by Ava Harper, Harper & Co. Events. I almost laughed out loud. 10 days. Just 10 days until the biggest interior design and lifestyle event of the fall in New York. Ava had been talking about it all year, she'd say every time the family FaceTimed. Architectural Digest ran a preview 2 months ago. Vogue Living did a 4-page spread titled Ava Harper, the woman behind the most anticipated design night of the year. The guest list was every young designer's dream. People would sell their souls for an invite. Editors from Dwell and Elle Decor. Developers building luxury condos in Brooklyn and Hudson Yards. Million-follower influencers obsessed with quiet luxury and sustainable chic. Reps from major brands, West Elm, CB2, Design Within Reach, even Herman Miller. And, most importantly, potential clients I'd only dreamed of landing. Ava had turned the Highline Hotel into her personal stage. A stage she was certain had only one star, Ava Harper. I looked at the box I'd just brought home, then back at the red calendar square. A thought flashed. clear and cold as the LED lights in her old office. What if I walked onto that very stage, not as Ava's sister, not as backup, not to hold the camera for her stories, but to stand center stage, my name on the backdrop, my work on the big screen, my own voice echoing through the room? In New York, networking is everything. One right night with the right people can change a career. I'd spent 4 years sending cold emails, attending events, trying to squeeze into conversations where Ava always, accidentally or deliberately, cut in first. She'd introduce me as, "This is my little sister Emily. She's doing some cute, sustainable projects." Cute. That word was enough for polite smiles before everyone turned back to Ava. But this time was different. This time, Ava had personally gathered every single person I needed to meet into one room. She'd built the stage, turned on the lights, and raised the curtain. All I had to do was walk out. I opened a new tab and typed fast, "West Elm Senior Brand Manager Contact." I knew her. She'd once DM'd praising my Lolita restaurant project, saying, "We'd love to see more." I never dared reply because why? Because I was afraid Ava would think I was riding her coattails? Afraid I'd be seen as using her connections? Enough. I opened the pitch file I'd written 2 months ago for a dedicated sustainable design segment. I'd never sent it because I thought I wasn't ready. Now I was. I'd send it directly. No Ava, no introduction from Ava, no hiding behind her. Today. I stood up, pacing my tiny apartment, holding a fresh cup of coffee. Outside, the L train rumbled past again, metal screeching like encouragement. This is New York. No one hands you a stage here. You have to step onto it, even if someone else built it. Ava had spent a whole year building that night for herself. Now, I'd make it mine. Not for revenge, but to prove I no longer needed her to turn on the lights for me. I'd do it myself, and I'd make the whole room blaze. 10 days. Countdown begins. I arrived at the Elk on Waverly Place at exactly 11 a.m., 10 minutes early, New York habit. Megan Brooks was already at the corner table by the window, curly blonde hair in a high ponytail, a flat white in front of her, and a tape measure peeking out of her West Elm tote. Megan isn't just my Parsons classmate. She's been in Dwell twice before 30 and is now creative director for a sustainable furniture brand in Hudson Yards. In other words, the only person I trust enough to hear this. "Hey, you look like you swallowed a knife," Megan said the second I sat down. Worse, I swallowed a voice memo. I placed my iPhone between us, handed her one AirPod. "Listen, and please believe I didn't fake this." Megan raised an eyebrow, put it in, and I hit play. Ava's voice filled the small space between us, clear, vicious, merciless. Megan went statue still. Her face shifted from curiosity to shock to genuine anger. When it ended, she gently set the earbud down like it might explode. Jesus Christ, Em. I know. That wasn't venting. That was surgical. Megan took a deep breath. My older sister did the same thing, just softer. She'd smile for our parents, then tell her Ivy League friends I was still figuring things out, while I paid my own RISD tuition. Same energy, different volume. I nodded, feeling for the first time that I wasn't crazy. Megan rested her chin on her hand. "So, what are you going to do? Long text and block forever?" "No. I'm going to outgrow her, in public, at her own event." I opened my MacBook, spun it toward her. The Notion page appeared with a huge title, Operation Outshine, 10 Days. Megan's eyebrows shot up. "Tell me everything." I told her everything. The showcase at the Highline Hotel, the insane guest list, how Ava had accidentally gathered every contact I needed into one room. Then I opened the pitch I'd written 2 months ago, an 18-minute segment titled, "The Future is Secondhand, How Sustainable Design is Changing Luxury." I'd never dared send it because I was afraid of rejection. Not anymore. West Elm is the main sponsor, I said. I know Sarah Klein, senior brand manager. She loved the Nolita project. If I pitch her a live walkthrough of my process, plus a short talk about authenticity in a cutthroat industry, they might force Ava to add me to the program. Megan nodded slowly, eyes lighting up. They will. Brands are desperate for fresh voices right now. Female, sustainable, under 30. You check every box. She paused. But are you going to play the memo on stage? No, I don't need to. Just knowing I have it changes everything. It's like holding a loaded gun I never have to fire. Megan smirked. Receipts without the mess. Smart. We spent the next 2 hours building a detailed plan. Pitch email to Sarah Klein today, before 5 p.m. Megan helped me refine the tone, confident but not arrogant, emphasizing added value for the brand and audience, not one word about Ava. New slide deck, 15 slides, real before and afters, stats on 42% carbon footprint reduction in my latest project, photos of physical mood boards I hunted myself in salvage yards. Rehearse the talk. Megan played toughest audience member. I stood up, pretending to hold an invisible mic. Hi, I'm Emily Harper. I design spaces for people who want luxury that doesn't cost the planet. Tonight, I want to talk about something we never put on mood boards. What happens when the people closest to you don't actually want you to succeed? Megan raised her hand, too on the nose. I tried again. In an industry built on connections, some connections quietly cut you down so they can stay on top. I used to think collaboration meant smiling while someone sharpened the knife. I was wrong. Megan nodded. Better, keep the knife metaphor. It's New York. Everyone gets it. We practiced the transition from projects to personal topic over and over. Megan reminded me, don't make it a takedown. Make it a graduation speech. You're not dragging her off the stage. You're walking onto your own. Before we left, Megan grabbed my hand tight. One last thing. Ask yourself every day until the event, is your goal to destroy Ava or to free Emily? I looked out the window at the Greenwich Village crowds rushing under golden fall sunlight. To free Emily, I said, and for the first time in 48 hours, I fully believed it. Megan grinned wide. Good, because New York doesn't reward victims. It rewards people who stop auditioning and start producing. I hugged her hard before stepping back onto the street. October wind whipped through my hair. In my coat pocket was the finished pitch. In my heart was a new kind of fire. 10 days. I no longer needed Ava to be seen. I'd make the entire industry open its eyes. 10 days later, 7:12 p.m., I stood outside the Highline Hotel on West 17th Street, Chelsea. October air bit cold. Hudson River wind whipped my black midi dress. Inside was a world of light, massive crystal chandeliers hanging in the old church ceiling, hundreds of LED candles flickering on tables, a huge white backdrop screaming NY Design Fusion Showcase in bold serif, and the Harper & Co. Events logo front and center. This was Ava's masterpiece, and tonight I was the uninvited guest added to the program only 72 hours ago. I wore a black Reformation V-neck dress, Margot Mary Jane's, hair in a low knot. I looked completely normal, except for the black USB in my coat pocket and the voice memo backed up in 3 different places. Text from Ava at 6:45. Heard you're presenting. Interesting. Don't mess up my event. I hadn't replied yet when I saw her. Ava emerged from stage right in a white Thoreau jumpsuit, perfect high bun, Charlotte Tilbury red lips. She looked like she just stepped off a Vogue cover, and she walked straight toward me. Little sis finally gets a spot, Ava said, voice sweet, eyes not smiling. You're welcome, by the way. I smiled, gently but unflinching. Actually, West Elm insisted they loved the pitch. Ava's face froze for a second, then snapped back to professional. Cute. Just remember, these people are here because of my relationships. Stick to the script, keep it light, pretty pictures, 5 minutes max. We don't need a TED Talk. There is no script, Ava. Sarah asked me to speak for 18 minutes about my process. No one sent me bullet points. She tilted her head, smile sharpening. 18. They must be desperate for content. Then she lowered her voice to almost a whisper. Don't go off topic, Emily. Don't make it personal. This is my night. I looked her dead in the eye. It's an industry night, and I'm part of the industry. Ava smirked, patted my shoulder like I was a tantruming child. Sure, whatever you need to tell yourself. Then she turned, white silk flowing, leaving the scent of expensive Byredo in the air. I stood alone among strangers raising champagne glasses, heart pounding. I felt the old fear rise, fear of ruining everything, fear of looking like the bratty little sister, fear that Ava was right, that I was just playing designer, and tonight the world would see it. But then I remembered what Megan said at the Elk. New York doesn't reward victims. It rewards people who stop auditioning and start producing. I took a deep breath of cold Chelsea air, looked out the big western windows at the Hudson glittering under city lights. This is New York, the city millions come to prove they belong. No permission required. The American dream has no clause saying, must ask big sister first. Here, you stand up or get pushed aside. Sarah Klein from West Elm passed by, waving enthusiastically. Emily, we're so excited for your segment. It's going to be the highlight. She pointed toward the main stage. You're after the keynote, right before cocktail hour. Perfect slot. I smiled, this time for real. Thank you for making this happen. Girl, you made this happen, Sarah replied, then vanished into the crowd. I pulled out my phone, opened the final slide I'd edited until 3 a.m. yesterday. The last slide was no longer a thank you note. Now it was just one line, white text on black. The future belongs to those who refuse to stay small so someone else can feel big. I closed the screen, slipped the phone away, and walked inside. Ava may have built this stage for herself, but tonight I would decide what story got told. The lights were ready. So was I. 9:42 p.m. The MC, an editor from Dwell I'd only ever dared message, stepped onto the main stage in the old church of the High Line Hotel. Crystal chandeliers dimmed. Only a single white spotlight remained. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a designer proving luxury and sustainability aren't mutually exclusive, Emily Harper. The applause wasn't as wild as for the keynote, but it was enough for me to hear my heartbeat in my chest. I climbed the 8 oak steps, Mary Jane's clicking steadily. The spotlight was warm, not blinding like I'd feared. I looked out, 300 faces, wine glasses glinting, curious eyes. Stage right, Ava stood, arms crossed, lips tight. I smiled, really smiled. Hi, I'm Emily Harper. I design spaces for people who want to live well without screwing over the planet. A ripple of laughter. Perfect icebreaker. I started with my proudest project, the lobby of a 28-room boutique hotel in Hudson Yards. First slide, the grim before. Dark, chemical carpet, cold fluorescent lights. Next slide, after. Reclaimed Vermont millwood floors, real moss walls, sofas upholstered in ocean plastic fabric, warm 2700K LED light from recycled Italian glass fixtures. I walked them through every detail. How I convinced the investor to cut carbon footprint 42% while boosting room revenue 28% because guests stayed longer just to take photos. The audience started nodding. I saw the Elle Decor editor scribbling. An influencer I'd followed for 3 years raised her phone to record a story. Next slide, a Fort Breen brownstone for a family with an autistic child. I talked about soft materials, sensory-friendly colors based on research, open layouts that made the kid feel safe. A woman in the front row wiped tears. That's the project that went viral on Pinterest last month. I wasn't rushing. I let them look, let them feel. I didn't apologize for taking time. I didn't say, this is just a small thing I did. I let the work speak. At slide 12, I paused. The screen went black, only one huge white line. True support in a competitive world. The room shifted instantly. People sat up straighter. The spotlight stayed on me, but I felt hundreds of eyes locked. We talk a lot about collaboration in this industry, I began, voice steady, no shake. We post quotes about lifting each other up. We hashtag women supporting women. But what happens when the people supposed to have your back are actually holding the knife? Gasps rippled. I clearly heard someone in the middle row whisper, "Oh my God," to their neighbor. I used to think real support looked like being given a corner in someone else's office, being introduced as my little sister who's trying this cute design thing, being told I should be grateful because without them, I'd still be working from my bedroom. I clicked. Next slide, a blown-up photo of my tiny old desk in Ava's office with the postcard, "You're welcome" for the space, zoomed in. No explanation needed. American audiences get it instantly. Sibling rivalry, golden child syndrome, family help that's really control. All too familiar. I thought that was support, I continued. Turns out it wasn't. Support isn't making someone smaller so you can stay the tallest person in the room. I looked straight stage right. Ava was still there, but arms no longer crossed, hands hanging limp, face pale under the lights. Tonight, in a space built by someone who spent years telling me behind my back that I was embarrassing, playing designer, delusional, I get to stand here and show you my work, on my own terms, with my own voice. Applause started, real applause, not polite. A man in the front row stood, then another, then a whole section. I wasn't done. I hadn't quoted the memo yet. I hadn't even said Ava's name, but the entire room already understood, and they had chosen a side. I smiled. The first time in my life I felt I completely belonged where I stood. Tonight isn't about settling a family score, I said, voice carrying through the old church. It's about reminding every young designer in this room, especially the ones with siblings, mentors, or friends who secretly hope they fail, that your work is real, your voice is valid, and you don't need permission to take up space. The applause became thunder. The spotlight still shone on me. But this time, the light no longer belonged to Ava. It belonged to me. The applause was still ringing, but I wasn't finished. I clicked one last time. The screen turned white, 3 red underlined quotes from the voice memo. Those tiny little contracts, honestly embarrassing. I only pretend to support her because mom and dad expect it. If her clients ever saw how insecure she really is, they'd run. I didn't need to play the audio. Just seeing the words appear silenced the room. I took a deep breath. These words were not said to my face. They were recorded for my parents and accidentally sent to me instead. I'm not here to play victim. I'm here to stop pretending I didn't hear them. From stage right, Ava stormed out like a hurricane. Louboutin heels clacked hard on the wood floor. She snatched a mic from a stagehand, voice booming through the speakers without introduction. "Okay, that's enough!" Ava nearly shouted. "This is wildly unprofessional. We are not turning my event into a family therapy session." The entire room turned to watch her like it was live theater. A second spotlight snapped onto Ava. My sister and I stood under 2 white circles of light, less than 10 meters apart, but worlds away. Ava faced the audience, flashing the polished smile she'd practiced 1,000 times. Everyone vents. It was a private conversation taken out of context. My sister is clearly very hurt, and I'm sorry for that, but this is not the place. I kept my voice calm. It's never the place, Ava. Not at family dinner. Not when you called my contracts tiny in front of Mom. Not when you told Dad I was playing designer. The place only exists when it's convenient for you. Ava scoffed, but I saw her hand tremble. You have no idea the pressure I'm under. Do you think this event just happens? I've been killing myself for a year. And you get one lucky sponsor email and suddenly you're the victim? I took one step forward. I'm not the victim tonight. I'm the feature presenter, added by West Elm, not by you. A collective ooh rose from the middle rows. An Architectural Digest editor who'd ignored 3 of my portfolio emails raised his hand. Sorry, I have to ask. This is fascinating. Sibling rivalry in creative fields is so common in the U.S. How do you two navigate it professionally when family dynamics bleed into business? The question was for both of us. Ava spoke first. Easy. I gave her office space, connections, everything. And this is how she repays me? By dragging private family issues onto my stage? I looked Ava dead in the eye, the first time in my life I didn't look away. You gave me a corner so you could remind me every day it wasn't mine. You introduced me as my little sister who does eco stuff so no one would ever take me seriously. That's not help, Ava. That's control. Ava laughed, but it cracked. Control? You want to talk about control? Do you know what it was like growing up being told I was the golden child? The one who had to be perfect? Then suddenly Mom and Dad's eyes light up every time you post a mood board? You stole my spotlight without even trying. The room went dead silent. It was the first time Ava had ever admitted her deepest insecurity in front of a crowd. I felt the air shift. This was no longer family drama. This was truth hundreds in the room had lived in one form or another. I lowered my voice enough for the mic to still catch it. I didn't steal anything from you, Ava. I just found something I was brilliant at. And instead of being happy for me, you decided to make me smaller so you wouldn't have to feel less. Ava opened her mouth to fire back, but I kept going, slower, truer. And honestly, part of it is my fault too. The room gasped, even Ava. I saw her blinking fast. I let you, I said. For years, I laughed at the jokes. I said thank you when you reminded me the office space was a favor. I stayed small because it was easier than fighting the person I looked up to most. So yes, I played a role in this dynamic. But tonight, I'm done. I turned back to the audience. Young designers in this room, listen to me. If someone, anyone, family, mentor, friend, keeps moving the finish line so you can never cross it, that's not love, that's fear, and you don't have to live in it. I raised my hand, thumb hovering over the play button on the phone in my pocket. I could press this right now and let you all hear exactly how she talks about me when she thinks no one's listening. But I won't, because one of us has to be the adult tonight. I lowered my hand. Ava stared at me, eyes red, lipstick slightly smudged. For one brief second, I saw the big sister who once gave me a ride home on her bike in 6th grade rain. Then the moment vanished. Ava turned, walked straight off the stage, heels delivering the final clacks before the backstage door slammed shut. The spotlight remained only on me, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel lonely at all. The applause started in row 5, slow but certain, then spread like a wave. One person stood, then 10, then the entire room. Not polite end-of-event clapping. This was the sound of people who just watched a young woman claim her right to exist. I bowed my head in thanks, eyes stinging but no tears. The spotlight still burned hot on my skin, but this time I didn't want to hide. Sarah Klein from West Elm rushed up and hugged me the second I stepped down. "Emily, that was incredible. We're doubling down on a collaboration line with you next quarter." She whispered it loud enough for nearby people to hear. I barely nodded before another pair of arms pulled me in. Elle Decor editor, a Hudson Yards developer, then a 1.8 million follower influencer saying, "We need to shoot your next project for my series." Meanwhile, across the room, no one missed the scene unfolding. The marketing director of Fairfax Group, Ava's biggest six-figure client she'd bragged about all year, was speaking to Ava's assistant. I couldn't hear, but I saw the assistant go pale. A minute later, the man shook his head, gave a curt handshake, and left with his team. Internal messages later confirmed. Fairfax pulled out of all future Harper & Co. events. "We don't want to be associated with unresolved personal controversy." One sentence, enough to collapse a year of Ava's work. I didn't feel happy. I just felt strangely empty. The event ended at 11:30. I stood in the marble hallway, cold air blowing in from the windows, holding an untouched champagne flute. My phone buzzed nonstop. Message from Vogue Living. "Emily, we'd love to run a first-person essay plus shoot your next project. 8 pages. Are you in?" Messages from Dwell, Architectural Digest, a top 10 design podcast. I replied to each, hands shaking from leftover adrenaline. Then a call from Mom. I answered immediately. Laura Harper's voice came through hoarse from crying. "Emily, Ava just called me. She's home, sobbing. She says you deliberately humiliated her in front of the entire industry." I was silent a few seconds, watching people come and go under Chelsea streetlights. "Mom, I didn't play the voice memo. I never said her name once on stage. I just told the truth." Mom sighed heavily. "I heard the memo, honey. You know that. When Ava sent it by mistake, I told her it was just venting. I was wrong. I should have protected you more." I heard Dad's voice in the background, low but clear. "Laura, let me." Dad took the phone. "Emily, I'm proud of you tonight. I watched the live stream on a friend's Instagram. You did the right thing. Your mother and I, we compared you two from the start. Ava, the leader, you, the dreamer. We thought it motivated you both, but it created a war no one wins. I'm sorry." I stood still, tears finally falling, not from pain, but relief. The first time Dad ever admitted it. "I don't want our family broken," I said. "I know," Dad replied, "but you can't keep living small to keep the peace. Ava will have to learn accountability, and you go fly." The call ended. I stood outside the Highline Hotel a few more minutes, watching the black Hudson in the distance. Ava had left the event at some point, no one knew when. No text, no call, no goodbye. I got into an Uber back to Brooklyn. On the way, I opened Instagram. Event stories were flooded with clips of my final moments on stage. The most common caption? "Tonight we witnessed a designer claim her own name." I turned off the phone, leaned my head against the cold window. Tonight, I lost a sister in the old sense, but I found myself completely with no one else's shadow. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. 3 days after the showcase, a message from an unknown number appeared while I was making cold brew in the kitchen. Unknown number. Café Devotion, Atlantic Ave, Brooklyn. Tomorrow noon. We need to talk. A. I knew exactly who it was. I didn't reply, just saved the contact as Ava, do not pick up unless ready. The next morning, I typed one word. Okay. Café Devotion is on Atlantic Avenue, 10 minutes walk from my place. I arrived 15 minutes early, chose a table in the back garden where October sun filtered through walnut trees and soft bossa nova made it impossible for anyone to eavesdrop on two Harper sisters. Ava walked in at exactly noon. No white jumpsuit, no red heels, no red lipstick. Oversized gray sweater, mom jeans, low ponytail, no makeup. She looked normal. For the first time in years, I saw Ava as just a tired 30-year-old woman, not an icon of success. She set her bag down, ordered an oat milk cappuccino, and sat across from me. No hug, no air kiss, just a small nod. Hi. Hi. Silence long enough for the server to bring coffee. Ava turned the cup in circles, searching for words. I lost the Fairfax contract, she said first, voice hoarse. And 2 others are reviewing. One client said they don't want family drama attached to their brand. I nodded, said nothing. Ava stared into her coffee. Mom cries every time I call. She thinks she ruined both of us. Guilt stabbed me, but I forced myself to stay still. I'm not here asking for pity, Ava said quickly when she saw me about to speak. I'm here because I owe you a real apology. Not the sorry you feel that way kind I'm good at. She took a deep breath. I was vicious, not just in that memo. In years of tiny cuts I told myself were jokes. I was jealous, Em, plain and simple. Growing up, everyone told me I was the responsible one, the successful one, the one who had to make the family proud. Then you found something you were actually brilliant at, and suddenly Mom forwarded your posts with more exclamation points than she ever used for mine. I didn't know how to handle feeling replaceable. I looked at her, seeing Ava defenseless for the first time. So I made you smaller, she continued. If you stayed the cute little sister with tiny contracts, I could keep being the star. It was ugly, deliberate, and I'm sorry. Not just for the memo, for all of it. The apology hung between us. I let it sit. Thank you for saying that, I replied. I needed to hear it from you, not through Mom. Ava nodded, eyes red. But, I continued, voice firm, an apology doesn't erase the boundaries I'm setting now. Ava straightened, bracing. From now on, you do not get to comment on my career like you own it. No cute, no still growing, no thanks to me. If you have a problem with me, you say it to my face, not through Mom, not through Dad, not in the family group chat. I will not use you as content. No panels, no interviews, no stories about sibling drama. We are not each other's brand anymore. Ava swallowed hard. Fair. In return, I said, I won't drag this out. I won't retell details on podcasts, won't write essays about you. If anyone asks, I'll just say we had a conflict and we're figuring it out. That's it. Ava gave the tiniest real smile. Deal, though knowing us, we'll probably need actual therapy sessions one day. Sibling therapy, very on brand for 2 overachieving New York women. I couldn't help laughing. We'll book the most expensive one in Williamsburg and split the bill. Very Harper. Ava laughed too, the sound cracking with tears. I'm proud of you, Em, she said, voice small but clear. Not in the condescending way, really proud. You were incredible up there. I looked at her a long time. I needed to hear that without a but after it. No but, Ava answered. We sat another 10 minutes talking about weather, Megan's dog, the Dumbo condo project I'd just signed. No hug goodbye, just a nod and an awkward smile. As Ava walked toward the 2/3 train, I walked the other way home. Atlantic Avenue was as busy as ever, but this time I didn't feel heavy. We weren't back to the old days, never could be, but we'd started something new. 2 adults choosing honesty over performance. I opened my phone, changed the contact from Ava, do not pick up unless ready, to simply Ava. Baby step. Very New York. Very Harper. 3 months after the showcase, I stood inside my new studio in Industry City, Brooklyn, 1,200 square feet with huge windows overlooking New York Harbor, exposed brick walls, polished concrete floors, and a reclaimed wood sign by the door. Emily Harper Studio, sustainable design for real life. No more borrowed corners, no one else's name on the lease, just mine. The West Elm collection launched 18 pieces entirely from recycled materials, sold out in 48 hours. Vogue Living ran the promised 8-page story titled The Designer Who Refused to Stay Small. I was invited to speak at Design Miami, Salone del Mobile Satellite, and a Parsons keynote, the very school that taught me success is something you seize. Ava never appeared in any of my interviews. I kept my word. As for Ava, Harper & Co. Events still exists, but smaller. She lost 3 major clients, downsized the Midtown office, and for the first time in her life had to learn to say I was wrong in front of employees. I heard from Megan that Ava now sees a therapist regularly on the Upper West Side who specializes in sibling dynamics and golden child syndrome. She doesn't post about it, but I know because Mom told me. Voice full of pride mixed with embarrassment. Our family had Thanksgiving at Mom and Dad's in Montclair, the first time in 3 years. No one mentioned the showcase, just roasted sweet potatoes, turkey, and Dad raising his glass. To both my daughters, who taught me comparison is the thief of joy. Ava and I looked at each other, nodded slightly, and smiled, the first smile without thorns. Today, I'm sitting on the floor of my new studio, legs stretched out, surrounded by new fabric swatches and a mood board for my biggest project yet, a 40-story condo tower in Hudson Yards. My phone buzzes. Email from TEDx Brooklyn. Subject: We'd love to have you speak next spring. Topic of your choice. I smile, type the reply instantly. Title: How I Stopped Letting My Sister Write My Story. I hit send, stand up, open the huge window. Harbor wind blows in, carrying salt and metal from the city. I think about the past 3 months, the sleepless nights, the pain of realizing the person I idolized wanted to keep me small. This isn't a Netflix revenge story. No one is completely destroyed, no final scene of someone kneeling for forgiveness in the rain. This is a far more American story, a young woman deciding she will no longer live by someone else's script. The greatest revenge isn't destroying another person. The greatest revenge is rewriting your own damn story, then living in it so fully, so largely, so brightly that no one can ever deny you again. In this country, we're taught that independence is the core value, even if that means independence from your own family. I did it. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but truly. I look out the window at a massive container ship gliding slowly across the water, January sunlight sparkling on the surface. I am Emily Harper, 28 years old, owner of a fast-growing studio, just signed the biggest contract of my career without anyone's permission, no longer forced to smile awkwardly when called little sister, owner of a voice that is truly mine. And for the first time in my life, I am completely, absolutely unapologetic about it. I close the window, walk back to my desk, turn on the desk lamp. The light is mine now, and I will only share it with those who deserve it.